In the quiet mill town of Fall River, Massachusetts, there stands a house that looks deceptively ordinary. A simple two-story home with clapboard siding, a picket fence, and neatly trimmed windows. But step through the front door, and you can almost feel the air grow heavy, as if the walls themselves remember. This is the Borden House, the scene of one of America's most famous and grisly crimes. And if the stories are true, death didn't end the horror inside those walls. It merely began a haunting that has lasted for more than a century. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Crimes Through Time if you're fascinated by true crime and the eerie echoes that linger long after the verdict. Give this video a like, it helps others uncover these forgotten tales of history's darkest mysteries. Now, let's journey back to Fall River, 1892, to the home where blood and silence built a legend. It was a blistering August morning when the Borden household woke up to what seemed like any other day. Andrew Borden, a stern and frugal man, went about his morning errands. His wife, Abby, tended to chores in the upstairs guest room. Lizzie, their 32-year-old daughter, moved quietly through the house, restless, anxious by her own account. But by noon, both Andrew and Abby would be dead, murdered in one of the most brutal crimes in New England's history. Andrew was found sprawled across the sitting room couch, his face nearly cleaved in two by repeated blows from a hatchet. Upstairs, Abby lay face down on the bedroom floor, her skull split open. The home, which had always been known for its quiet discipline, was now a slaughterhouse. Suspicion quickly fell on Lizzie Borden. Her inconsistent statements, her calm demeanor, and the lack of any other suspects made her an irresistible target for public outrage. She was arrested, tried, and ultimately acquitted, the jury unable to find enough evidence to convict. But in the court of public opinion, Lizzie was forever marked. After the trial, she moved to a large new home she called Maplecroft, determined to start anew. Yet the old house at 92nd Street, the Borden family home, remained frozen in the public imagination. Locals began to avoid walking past it at night. Strange noises, lights flickering in empty rooms, and the sound of footsteps pacing overhead were whispered about. What had been the scene of human cruelty soon became something else. A place haunted not only by ghosts but by guilt and fascination. In the years following the murders, tenants came and went. Some stayed only days. Others reported unsettling encounters they could never explain. In one account from the early 1900s, a family renting the home claimed they would wake at exactly 11 a.m. every morning. The estimated time of Andrew Borden's death, the sound of a man groaning softly in the sitting room. When they would rush downstairs, they'd find nothing, only the faint impression of someone having sat on the couch. Later residents spoke of hearing footsteps in the upstairs hallway, though no one was there. Others heard a woman's voice calling softly from the guest bedroom, the same room where Abby Borden was killed. Doors opened and closed by themselves. Objects went missing, and one child who lived there claimed she saw a lady in old clothes crying by the stairs. As the years passed, the legend grew. Locals said that the spirits of Andrew and Abby refused to rest, their violent deaths anchoring them to the house. But others believed something darker, that Lizzie herself, burdened by guilt or resentment, left a part of her spirit there too. By the mid-20th century, the house had become a site of macabre curiosity. True crime enthusiasts, historians, and skeptics alike began to visit. In 1996, it was converted into a bed and breakfast, one that catered specifically to those brave enough to spend the night in a real murder scene. Guests slept in the very rooms where the killings took place, and according to hundreds of reports, the hauntings only intensified. One guest staying in the master bedroom claimed she was woken by the sensation of someone sitting on the edge of her bed. When she turned on the lamp, no one was there, but the bedsheets bore a deep impression, as if a heavy body had been resting there. Another guest, staying in Abby's room, reported hearing faint weeping at night, and found her hairbrush moved from the vanity to the floor by morning. Perhaps the most chilling accounts came from the sitting room, where Andrew met his end. Visitors have described sudden drops in temperature, the smell of freshly cut apples, Lizzie's favorite snack, and, on rare occasions, the sound of a man's labored breathing just before dawn. Paranormal investigators have spent decades trying to record evidence of activity. EVP's electronic voice phenomena have captured whispers that seem to say, "Lizzie, why?" And he's dead. Footsteps echo through empty halls, and flashlights flicker on command during SNCs. Even hardened skeptics leave the house uneasy, convinced that something lingers. But not all believe in ghosts. Some say the haunting is psychological, a reflection of America's collective obsession with the Borden murders. For over a century, Lizzie has been cast as both monster and martyr. The case embodies everything dark about human curiosity, the desire to peer into evil, to relive tragedy, to find meaning in madness. The Borden House, they argue, is haunted not by spirits, but by our refusal to let the story die. Still, there are moments that defy explanation. In 2008, a camera crew filming an overnight documentary reported seeing a shadow move across the parlor wall, though no one else was in the room. When they played back the audio, a faint woman's voice whispered, "Stop it." And in 2012, a guest staying in Lizzie's old room awoke to see a figure standing in the doorway, a woman in a long dress, staring silently. The figure vanished the moment the guest reached for the light. Psychics who visited claim the energy inside the house is fractured as if multiple emotional imprints overlap. Some say Abby's spirit remains fearful and protective, trapped in her final moment of terror. Others claim Andrew's ghost is angry and restless, bound by the injustice of his death. But almost all agree on one thing: Lizzie's presence is still felt. Whether it's her guilt or her defiance that remains is anyone's guess. There's also an eerie detail many visitors notice. Mirrors in the house seem to play tricks. Reflections shift subtly, and in some photos taken by guests, faint outlines appear behind them, faces that don't belong to anyone present. Paranormal experts suggest that mirrors, as symbols of vanity and identity, often retain psychic residue from traumatic events. In a home like the Bordens, they might act as doorways between worlds. One guide who's worked at the bed and breakfast for years summed it up best: "This house doesn't scare you with what you see, it scares you with what you feel." To this day, the Borden House draws thousands of visitors annually. Some come for the true crime history, others for the thrill of the paranormal. But nearly everyone leaves with the same sense that something within those walls remembers. The murders of Andrew and Abby Borden may have been solved on paper, but emotionally, spiritually, they remain an open wound. The home is a monument not only to violence, but to the human need for answers. Lizzie died in 1927, still maintaining her innocence, but even her death didn't quiet the story. If anything, it gave it new life. Today, the Borden House stands at 232nd Street, looking nearly unchanged from that terrible day in 1892. Visitors can sleep in the same rooms, touch the same furniture, and walk the same creaking floors, where a mystery unfolded that has fascinated the world for over a century. And when the lights go out, when the air grows cold, and when silence fills the halls, some say you can still hear a faint sound drifting through the darkness. The creak of footsteps, a whisper, maybe the echo of a woman's voice, softly humming an old tune. Whether the Borden House is truly haunted or not, one thing is certain: it holds the weight of memory. It is a place where tragedy and legend coexist, where history refuses to rest. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere in that quiet Fall River home, the past is still alive. Thank you for watching Crimes Through Time. If this story fascinated you, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more journeys into history's darkest mysteries. And tell us in the comments, do you think the Borden House is truly haunted, or are its ghosts born from our own fascination with the crime? We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay safe,